And good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Episode 166 of RickCast. I hope everybody's having a good evening. Oh, man, we got Dave Matthews slander already happening in my chat. Come on, man. I admitted to it, okay? I copped to the Dave Matthews. You got to give me a credit. You got to leave me be, man. You know what? I think I'm going to listen to him tonight. So let's see here. So what do we got tonight? I mean, there was certainly some things to talk about today here on the world, and especially in the areas of politics and the areas of Catholicism. So Trump is seizing control of Washington, D.C. You can see him in the chat. Michael Thomas and I believe we went back and forth today on X about the ability to and the necessity of doing such a thing. I am one of the people that don't think it's a good idea. I especially don't like the idea that it is going to be a gateway for Trump to start doing it all over the union. And I understand, but you got to be smoking copious amounts of drugs to think any POTUS, Biden, Trump, Obama, Bush, Reagan, Carter, JFK, George Washington himself implementing this is a good idea, because it's not, in my opinion. And I won't back off of this opinion. You guys can respectfully disagree with me, but I'm not backing off of it. You know, what kind of guy would I be if I changed my principles just because I got a little bit of pressure, a little bit of blowback? So it is what it is in that regard. Yes, I am gifted with copious amounts of hair. Copious is our word for the night, in case you didn't catch it. We're also going to talk about Lila Rose, which is what Michael's talking about, the e-girls. It's pretty important. Lila Rose is one of the largest influencers in Catholic media. She is supposedly around in the pro-life movement, although a lot of her content lately has not been pro-life related. It has just been, she's moved off of the pro-life position into just more of Catholic Inc. positions, which leads to some pretty awful takes like the one she gave today. And she doubled down on it, guys. She actually doubled down on it earlier this afternoon, proving that covert feminism is wild within the conservative movement and even within the Catholic movement. Now, of course, it's also interesting to know that Lila Rose was in the same circle as a certain voice of reason. They used to hang out. A little interesting, a little not, but it is what it is in that regard. And yes, she makes a lot of money. She makes a lot of money. Yeah, like 300,000 or something like that, and it's crazy. It's crazy. So we'll talk about that. And then Obergefell has been challenged by Kim Davis, the Kentucky clerk who was arrested for pushing back against it. So that's interesting. I think Thomas really wants this one. Thomas really, really, really wants it. So I think it's going to get heard. And I think that might be Thomas's magnus opus, if that's the correct word. I think he wants to strike down Obergefell so bad on his way out the door, because I think his time is running out. The guy should be allowed to retire soon, but I think he sees this come across his desk and he goes, yes, I want this one. And I don't care if you don't want it, Roberts. We're pushing this one forward, and we're ruling against Obergefell. So I think that one is going to be pushed as well. Also, some supposed updates from what happened on Friday in Atlanta and a mass casualty event in Austin. And then a very interesting thing in our entertainment section, Paramount has, fresh off the deal from Skydance, has inked a $7.7 billion deal with UFC, which is amazing. I think it's one of the most expensive exclusivity deals out there, which I'm not a fan. I should have got Christopher Lawrence's opinion on that, because he's a big fan of the UFC. And it's a very, very popular sport, especially as all the other sports seem to be going woke. UFC is not there yet. Speaking of woke, you had the first Major League Baseball game with a female umpire behind home plate, and the first ball that was thrown, she blew the call outright. I don't know why. And it's going to be one of those things. Why the F? And I'm sorry, that's why I'm trying. Why in the stinky dinky? I'm trying to, you know what? Let's just use, why in the Smurf do women have to invade every male only space? It's a simple question. Why can't men have male umpires? Why can't, like, the Red Sox the other day, they had an all-female broadcast in the booth on the sidelines. I don't freaking care. I want to watch baseball, and I want to listen to Don Orsello call the dang gone game. I don't want to hear two women yapping about nonsense for 9 hours. You know what? Baseball is an escape from that stuff. But no, women just keep invading male spaces, which is why most men kind of just shut up and sit back with the transgender thing. It's like, oh, well, y'all want to get in our space. Yeah, have it. See what happens when that goes. Men can't say no, because then women will sue, or they'll go to the sponsors, and the sponsors will be like, well, of course we believe in equality and we believe in all these blah, 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 and then one thing leads to another, and that's it. So it's not fun. It's not fun, and it is not great if you are just a dude who wants to watch baseball, or who wants to, enjoy anything that used to be male dominated. So, I know, deep breaths. Of course, we've talked about this, guys who used to listen to my show back on the channel, all the way back to the gun bunnies. The gun bunnies that invade gun space. Now, there are some women that can absolutely sling that lead, and I'm fine with Leah Michalak. No, it's not Michalak. She's got a weird last name, but she can sling lead like nobody's business. And there's a couple of other professional shooters, women, that are just amazing. But the most of them are just gun bunnies, where they just pose with a gun in a tight t-shirt, and you're like, come on, man, can you just get out of here? I don't need to see that. I'm not a lonely old boomer. Move out of the way. Anyway. Let's see. So let's get into it, ladies and gentlemen. If you like my rants, I don't know why you would, but if you do, like, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell for all the fun things that we are going to be talking about tonight. Bunny Bobart is another one. All right. I'm all about the Constitution in my tight t-shirt. Yeah, well, if I wear a tight t-shirt, I get arrested. I get arrested, and when I do it, it's public indecency. So it should all be applied the same way. That's what I'm saying here. Anyway, let's see. Let's get into it, ladies and gentlemen. First story up of the night. Let us get it ready to go here, as I get our share screen ready to roll. Where is my share screen? It's somewhere around here. It is. Share screen away. No, I didn't want you to do that. It's going to be one of those nights. Come on, share. Me, yay. Bye, chat. You got to go. Love you. So, really, we can't see the stinking thing? Can we do that? Are you... come on, Su Ming King. You've got to be kidding me. This is ridiculous. Anyway, if you guys... nope, didn't want to do that either. It's going to be one of those days. We're fine. Where are we going back here? Here we go. Man fired 130 shots and shattered 150 windows in Friday's CDC attack. according to an internal agency info. The idea is, and you and I talked about it, that the CDC is located on Emory University, and with the increase in what seems like turbo cancers for a certain jab from a certain virus of unspecified origin, people are getting sicker and sicker, and young people are getting sicker and sicker. And it doesn't shock me that if it is an attack on the CDC, which a lot of people are quietly whispering, that yeah, people are going to be mad about what happened. People are going to be mad about the fact that they are sick and that their lives have been taken from them over what? Over a virus that was not deadly to most of the population. So it's interesting that this is what has been reported as far as the shot count and what is kind of pushing the story out of the mainstream as quickly as possible. Because if it is attached to the CDC and if it is attached to the boop 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 squeeze in your arm, then not a shock. It's not a shock that people would be upset about it. Remember, if this, so James has 180 shots. What's that? 36, 30, 60, 90, 120, 150, 180. That's 6 mags of 30 if he's using an AR-15. Or if he's using a drum, they have 50 to 100. That could be 2 drums. Now, that's my first point. Second point, cops are 15 minutes away. That's what concealed carriers and myself always talk about, is that when seconds count, and I know it's a cliche, but it's a cliche for a reason. When seconds count, cops are minutes away. They are. It's just the fact of life. And so if the cops are minutes away and a kid is absolutely determined, they can get shots off. I mean, it's not very hard to get a lot of shots off with something like an AR-15, especially on a gun-free campus like a college campus. And I know Emory's is a gun-free zone, and so it's one of those. Sorry, speaking of my little circ gun, my little fidget toy I play with, as it's not a real gun, YouTube. It's my little fidget laser gun that G Money makes fun of me for being great at duck hunting. But as yeah, you can get 180 shots off within 5 minutes. Yeah, especially, here's the thing, especially if you're not aiming at anything. If you're just spraying, then there's really nothing to worry about. If you're aiming at something, it's going to take longer. But if you're not aiming at something, then what's the point? You don't have to worry about it. All right, so that's the first one. I just that one came across the wire right before we started the show, and I just wanted to give you guys that update on what was going on there. If this is the case, if this is the pattern that it was indeed going after, it's the zapper, zap. If I'm gonna get, I'm not monetized anyway, so I might as well. YouTube can take the video down. I don't care. It's on Rumble, it's on Getter. We're good. It's gonna be on Parler, on YouTube, so I ain't worried about this. If it is connected to the CDC and not connected to Emory, if it's a college shooting, that's one thing. It's a terrible thing. If it's a specific attack on the CDC, they're going to want to bury it as deep as possible because they do not want more people getting similar ideas. So we'll see how that goes here. But that's a quick update on that story. This is RickCast. Do me a favor, like, subscribe, share, hit that notification bell. As we move on to, speaking of mass casualty events and making sure that you are armed at all times, which I'm a huge proponent of. I'm not telling you to carry in a place that does not, that specifically says no to guns. Yeah, the guy, I think the guy eventually did die. Let me see. Emory shooting. I can look that up real quick. Let's see here. And see, it actually is NPR yesterday or on Saturday called it the CDC shooting. So, let me get this up on the old. Since we're talking about it, let's go back. Switch. So this is from NPR on Saturday. CDC shooter believed COVID vaccine made him and his father told police. The Georgia man who opened fire on the U.S. Center for Disease Control and Prevention, shooting dozens around at the sprawling complex and killing a police officer, had blamed the Wuhan for a jab in the arm for making him depressed and slow. Law enforcement said 30-year-old shooter tried to get into CDC headquarters, but was stopped by guards before driving to a pharmacy store across the street and opening fire. He was armed with 5 guns, including 1 long gun. So if he was doing New York carry where it's pop, 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 guns out, next gun, pop, 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 that's it. So did he die? But did he die? They haven't said whether he was killed by police or killed. So in answer to your question, Lou, yes, he is no longer with us. So even though he was an awful person, the eternal rest grant on to, where is his name? Where is he? We just saw his name. Eternal rest grant on to Patrick Joseph White. Oh Lord. And the potential light shine upon him. May he rest in peace. Amen. I know some people are like, why are you praying for him, Rick? Because it's our job, man. We got to pray for the dead, no matter what. Hey G, what's up, man? All right, so Lou, there you go. Answer to the question. Yes, he is no longer with us. Let's move on to our next story of the night. Mass casualty event in Austin, Texas, ladies and gentlemen, with 3 people unfortunately hurt or no longer with us, dead, and the suspect is detained. Press conference.
The police were initially called here at 2:15.
Oh, there's your first. Sorry, I don't believe females should be in charge of police departments. Sorry, yeah, you're sexist, whatever. I don't believe they should be in charge of police departments. It is what it is. But Austin, the fact of the matter is, the reason she's probably the police chief is nobody else wanted the job. Nobody wants to be a police officer in Austin because it's hell. It's such a liberal city. Anyway, go.
The police were initially called here at 2:15 p.m. for a hotshot call. Officers arrived within 4 minutes. When officers arrived, they were met with 3 people that were shot inside the parking lot of Target. The suspect fled the scene, stole a car from the scene, took that car, wrecked that car, then hijacked another car. He was then found by Austin PD in South Austin, where he was taken into custody after a tasing. We have 3 people that are deceased. This is a very sad day for Austin. It's a very sad day for us all.
So, real quick, in Texas, an area that I actually can claim a specialty here. I'm a licensed to carry instructor in the state of Texas. I'm sure Target has what we have 3 methods of signs dealing with concealed carry. There's what we call 30.05, which is in regards to permitless carry. If you see a 30.05 sign here in Texas, that means no permitless carry. If you have an LTC, a license to carry, you can carry in that place. So I'm sure Target had a 30.05 sign. They also have a 30.06, which is no concealed carry allowed in the building. And then something called a 30.07 sign, which deals with a licensed open carry. So if you have a license to carry here in the state of Texas, you can carry open or concealed since we're a permitless state. Some people call us an open carry state or constitutional carry state. The legal framing is a permitless carry state. So you're allowed to carry without a license. But if you have an LTC, there's defense to prosecution in certain cases, and you're allowed to carry in more places. With all that being said, even if Target has the 30.05, the 30.06, and the 30.07, meaning no concealed carry or any carry of any kind is not allowed inside Target, you, as a resident of the state of Texas, are allowed to keep your gun in your car, because Target can make itself a gun-free zone, but there's the idea of premise in the state of Texas, meaning the building. So Target is the gun-free zone, the actual physical building. The parking lot is not. The parking lot, you are allowed to keep your firearm in your car. You could even carry it on you in the parking lot, because the premise doesn't include private driveways, streets, walkways, and any of that stuff. So even if it is, carry wherever you can. Carry wherever you can nowadays. I'm telling people, carry everywhere, carry anywhere you can. Now, if you want to practice civil disobedience, that is on you. There's RickCast, no way, shape, or form is condoning the idea of civil disobedience in any way, shape, or form, but that is up to you. Your right as an American citizen to do so. The second thing I recommend, if you do have a handgun, is to get some kind of legal representation like USCCA, US Law Shield, attorneys on retainer, CCW safe. Have somebody, because that's going to be huge if you ever do have to use your firearm. The legal things that the legal rabbit holes and the legal proceedings you're gonna have to go through are more than any average citizen is ready to afford. And for like $50 a month, if you're going to carry a handgun, you have to have some kind of legal representation that you pay for. I don't care what it is. I really don't. I'm a USCCA instructor. I have USCCA because I'm a USCCA instructor. But if somebody's like, I don't like USCCA, I have Law Shield, or I have CCW safe, or I have attorneys on retainer, I don't care. Have somebody. Just have somebody, because the last thing you want to do is not defend yourself, because you're like, oh, what about the legal ramifications? You're going to have to win that fight. And I hate to talk about these kinds of things, because it seems like, and I'm not trying to scare anybody, you guys can make your own determinations. There is a breakdown, especially in cities, of law and order. And you really are on your own. So this was in North Austin. APD said 2 people were pronounced dead at the scene, with another one taken to the hospital. A 4th person was treated for unrelated injuries. The police said the suspect stole a vehicle. We already heard all that. The suspect was described as a white male, approximately 32 years old. His mental health struggles, huge, and I cannot say this enough, a huge homeless population in Austin. A lot of them do struggle from mental health issues. Also, if he had mental health issues, he should not have been allowed to get a firearm, according to the 4473, if he bought a new gun. Now, if he bought a gun secondhand, there is no 4473. That's everybody's right here in the state of Texas. I will not say anything negative about that. I will say that when Rick Barrett, me personally, when I've sold guns secondhand, I have always required an LTC. I've only sold 1 or 2 of them. But when that happens, I've always required to see the LTC before I actually sell it. So this is in North Austin, looks like near Pflugerville and Round Rock. Yeah, that's actually pretty crazy. Near Wells Branch, Pflugerville area. Yeah. So this is actually not a bad area. It's more like the southern part of Austin is really the bad part. Northern part of Austin is generally considered supposedly safer than South Austin. So guess that really doesn't help the people that got caught up in this shooting today. So there's, the police are less and less inclined, especially after the defund the police movement, and especially being in cities. Remember, Winnebago v. DeShaney, they are not obligated to quote unquote protect you. So don't count on them actually protecting you, because they don't have to. It's not required. So you really are on your own. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is RickCast. Like, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell if you like what we're doing on the show. Looking pretty good tonight on a Monday. And let's see, let me just do a little Twitter promotion. Try to get some more people from. We had 200 plus people on Friday, but that was at 7. That was on a Friday night where not a lot of people are broadcasting, so that's probably why we had more. Everybody broadcasts on Monday, so we'll see how that goes. I don't know if managers will not be able to yell at the refs, at the umpires. Nope. By the way, this is my Chuck water. It is delicious. Yes, Chuck Norris has water here in Texas, and I love it. They do. They protect and serve their pensions, and they protect property. That's what their job is. Their job is to protect property, take notes, and make sure everybody, the lines on the ground get chalked out, and statements are recorded for the DA to take. All right, let's get to our first contentious. We had 2 contentious issues tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get to the first one that I've been, I don't want to say challenged, but spirited debates have been happening all over X today when this was announced. And I put this out as bad Trump. I said this was a bad Trump. And Michael Shannon, Michael and a couple other people, James and Michael Thomas and a couple others here have called me out as saying, nope, it is a good Trump and you are an idiot and you are wrong and you're stupid, which they didn't say any of that. They might have been thinking of it, but I'm not a fan of this. And the reason why, and we're going to go through it, I am not a fan of the feds being a solution for anything. Now let's go through it. First video.
News that we've just received into our newsroom. So we're getting this information from multiple sources, both with Mayor Bowser and with MPD, telling us that as of 6 o'clock this evening, they strongly believe, sources both within the mayor's office and within Metro Police Department, that President Trump, come tomorrow, will deploy the National Guard along the streets of D.C. That is the information that is now coming into our newsroom about what is likely to happen tomorrow at that news conference. That, again, the president is expected to deploy the National Guard, the D.C. National Guard, in and around Washington. This, from what we're being told at this point, has never happened before and would mark a significant turn in events. But no doubt, the continuation of what has been several days of an escalation by the White House to officials in D.C. about complaints regarding crime, and even most recently, as we heard just a minute ago, about the homeless encampments that we've seen in and around the city as well. We are going to continue to work on this and monitor the situation. Orlando Donovan, no doubt gathering information around the city. But again, information into our newsroom right now suggesting that the president come tomorrow at 10 o'clock during that news conference will announce the deployment of the D.C. National Guard on the streets of Washington.
Here we go.
I'm announcing a historic action to rescue our nation's capital from crime, bloodshed, bedlam, and squalor, and worse. This is Liberation Day in D.C., and we're going to take our capital back. We're taking it back under the authorities vested in me as the President of the United States. I'm officially invoking Section 740 of the District of Columbia Home Rule Act. You know what that is? And placing the D.C. Metropolitan Police Department under direct federal control, and you'll be meeting the people that will be directly involved with that. Very good people, but they're tough, and they know what's happening, and they've done it before. In addition, I'm deploying the National Guard to help reestablish law, order, and public safety in Washington, D.C., and they're going to be allowed to do their job properly.
So let's get to it. First one from James. Trump should federalize the entire governance of D.C. The place is an embarrassing mess. And I know Michael Thomas agrees with that. And many people on X agreed with the idea of federalizing the area. So the idea of, and yes, I get this is Politico and it may not be great, but what Trump can and cannot, yes, DC is federal land. You guys are 100% correct. Now, I am willing to acknowledge that Trump does have the authority to do this. I still don't have to like it, and I still don't think it's a good idea because of a couple things. We'll talk about a couple things here, but my main thing is we're conservatives, and we're supposed to be the group that hates the feds. We hate the Fed involvement. We were crying and whining when the feds were going into Latin masses, and they were coming after conservatives, and they were posting things on the DHS website about how bad conservatives was, this, that, and the other thing. And now we're like, yes, feds, good, go. Just seems a little out of whack for me, a little out of step for me. Second thing, and I know somebody was like, you can't use this as a mark, and I think you're pseudo-intellectual if you are going to try and make those terms. It doesn't have to be. Let's say when President BBL is in charge, or President Jasmine Crockett is in charge, somebody told me, oh, they won't keep the police in D.C. after Trump. They don't like the police. I'm sorry. Bless your heart if you think that. Once this happens, this is permanent. Now, I know 1973 was when the Homeland Rule came in, and it was federalized beforehand. I understand all that. Here's my thing. Right now, there is a functioning mayor and a functioning police department and a functioning form of government. It may not be serving the people well, as you have all told me over and over and over again, which is correct, but there is still a functioning government that is in place there. If you want to federalize it, repeal the Homeland Rule or the Home Rule and just reestablish federal control. I want it done the right way. I want it done completely where that whole thing is repealed, it's gone, and then let the feds take it over. It's Fedland. You want to have the Capitol be under federal control? Whatever. I'm not a fan of it as long as there is some kind of proper checks and a proper process in place. Get rid of the mayor, get rid of the city council, which you can do. You can repeal all that and poof, they're gone. There's nothing unconstitutional about it. There's a law in the books and they can do it. So do it. Yes, Michael, I understand that gross incompetence has been displayed by pretty much every big city mayor. Let's just use Boston to New York to LA to San Francisco to Austin, Texas. If it's a big city mayor, they've most likely driven their city so far into the ground, you can see China on the top of the skyscrapers in these places. I get it. I absolutely get it. But do you understand what I'm saying? This idea that we're going to federalize and have the mayor and the city council and the police and all these people yapping back and forth and doing all these other kinds of things, it's a mess if you do it that way. Let's just do this nice and clean. You want to make it Fedland, repeal the rule, get rid of the current governance that is in place, and federalize it. Now, of course, the home rule was put in because the people of DC felt they weren't being represented. They're not a state. They don't deserve representation, but they felt they were being forgotten by members of Congress and they were being forgotten by others. Second thing I'll say on that, let's say President BBL or President Jasmine Crockett comes in and they don't care. They just let it go back to the way it was. It doesn't matter if the feds are there. The feds are not an automatic solution to these things. You're going to hate what I have to say, but this is Steve Cunningham. There's a Cunninghamism. As long as there's a mayor and a city council, people got to run and they got to try and take back control. And I know you all think it's ludicrous, right? I'm in ludicrous speed from Spaceballs when I say something like this. Take back control of the mayorship, take back control of the city council, and clean your city up. You could say the same thing about Baltimore and Austin and LA and all these other places. The solution is never the feds. Now, once again, I have because I am wise and I am merciful, I have allowed the argument to stand that yes, Trump has the authority to do this in Fedland. Fine. I will say, okay, I don't like it, but there is that. But let's get into this. I completely admit that this Politico article is biased. So we're going to try and go through this a little bit. So Trump says he's taking control of the DC police. He can only do that for about 30 days. And then if he wants to do it longer than 30 days, he's going to have to get authorization from Congress. Let's see if Congress does it. That's another thing. He can do it, but for 30 days. And let's say Congress, because even though it's supposedly a Republican majority, they get the squishies. And now you're back to the exact same thing you were 30 days ago. Well, what about the National Guard? Yep. He can throw in the National Guard. And the District of Columbia has no governor, and the DC Guard is not controlled by the mayor. The DC Guard has always been under the direct control of the president, which is weird when Nancy Pelosi and all those guys, we all know that because somebody in the chat already said Biden did it when he put up a fence around the U.S. Capitol for pretty much his entire presidency. Remember, they put the National Guard around the Capitol and around the entire Capitol for his inauguration. So this isn't the first time that the National Guard has been flexed and used in the Capitol. The Capitol, we might as well call it the Hunger Games Capitol at this point, the way it's being done. So he has the ability to do so, but this seems like putting a Band-Aid on a flesh wound. Michael, I admit that it votes 96% Democrat. It votes 96% Democrat. So without the support of the mayor and without the support of the police department, you're not going to get the results you're hoping for.
What do you think about Trump saying he wants to federalize Washington and take more control of the city to improve safety?
I think it frankly doesn't make a lot of sense. I don't trust that anything he put in place would improve safety. And frankly, I mean, Washington, D.C. has more residents than a lot of states, and so I think the notion that the district can't govern itself is sort of unfounded.
I think privatizing security is a terrible idea, and I think anything that Trump does is garbage. Do you think the mayor's doing a good job with safety and security, or do you think if there was more of a federal presence, it would help in certain areas?
On our streets is a terrible, terrible idea. There's no way to control that. I think we have laws for a reason.
I think it's a good idea, and it's something that needs to be done for the city to be safe. Right now, we're not safe. Kids and the teenagers doing everything. So yeah, I think it's a good idea.
Theoretically, it's a good idea. Everyone wants their neighborhoods, their community to be safe. I think practically we know what's going to happen. DC historically has been a black city. It's called Chocolate City for a reason. When he says safety, when he's talking about federalizing it, what he really means is cracking down on the residents of the city, Native Washingtonians, black people, poor people who built their lives here, who own homes here, who've been here for generations, pushing them out as that's what is continuing to happen. So I don't buy it for a second, and I don't think most of us do either. We're not stupid. And I also think if there's not going to be representation, if we're not going to have senators and representatives who act.
Clearly, this lady has no idea that because it's a district, they're not allowed to have senators. The moment DC has senators, it ceases to be the District of Columbia, and then DC has to go somewhere else. So, not really a great point she's making here.
Actually can contribute and make a difference to their constituents, then it really is just talk. So yeah, I don't buy it.
I think DC politics should stay with DC. And unfortunately, the federal government is apparently overstepping their bounds right now. So I hope that DC is allowed to govern itself, as well as police itself.
And the talk back is, well, you guys have allowed to police yourself. You guys have allowed to do all these things, and yet the city is an absolute nightmare. Michael Thomas and a couple other people have lived there, and they say it's an absolute, it's a mess. It's an absolute mess. But the point, and it's really the idea of, hey, people from Wisconsin or people from, wherever should be able to visit the capital of the union without fear of being carjacked or any of these other things. And I'm still very much against the federalization of anything. And the reason why is once you start in DC, it will spread to other cities.
And we're going to have the same thing here. But then I'm going to look at New York in a little while. Let's do this. Let's do this together. Let's see. It's going to go pretty quickly. And if we need to, we're going to do the same thing in Chicago, which is a disaster. We have a mayor there who's totally incompetent. He's an incompetent man. And we have an incompetent governor there. Pritzker's an incompetent. His family threw him out of the business, and he ran for governor. And now I understand he wants to be president. But I noticed he lost a little weight, so maybe he has a chance. You know, you never know what happens. But Pritzker's a gross incompetent guy, thrown out of the family business. But when I look at Chicago and I look at L.A., if we didn't go to L.A. 3 months ago, L.A. would be burning like the part that didn't burn. If he would have allowed the water to come down, which I told him about in my first term, I said, you're going to have problems. Let it come down. We actually sent in our military to have the water come down into L.A. They still didn't want it to come down after the fires. But that was it. We have it coming down. But hopefully L.A. is watching. That mayor also. The city's burning.
Guys, you can't. You cannot federalize and occupy sovereign U.S. states. My question to the audience, do you believe that the states are individuals and that they have the right to govern themselves? Or do you just believe that D.C. is the king of all of these things and should govern 350 million people? That's the question, because in my opinion, you're more than welcome to disagree. If you agree with this statement that is made, then you are agreeing that the union doesn't matter. And yes, you can make the argument, hasn't mattered since 1865 at the minimum. But the fact of the matter is, you can't do this. If these cities are going to let themselves burn, you got to let them. If LA wants to keep electing morons, LA has a state constitution. LA has a governing body. If Chicago wants to keep electing morons for mayors, that's what Illinois can do. Same with New York. If Boston wants to elect an outsider who got Mayor Wu and she ruins the city, that's their fault. You cannot use the feds as a solution. A, it's ungovernable. There's not enough feds to occupy all these cities to really do the things you want to do. And secondly, this is not a rabbit hole you want to go down. Especially if you really want to go down the conspiracy theory idea of this is the groundwork of laying out not DC. Remember, I've given the DC argument. It's a federal territory. There's some areas where Trump can move. Fine. I don't like it, but fine. It can be done. It can be massaged. You're going to lose me 100%. I will not back down. And I'm not backing down in DC. I don't like it, but I understand it. I'm not backing down. You can't do it because once you do DC, then you're going to want to do LA. Then you want to do Chicago. Then you don't have enough troops for this unless you want to bring all the troops all over the world. You want to bring back all the troops from all over the world, which is actually not a bad idea, and put them in these cities. Unless you want to do that, because we don't have enough ATF agents. We don't have enough FBI agents. We don't have any of these. They're too busy occupying street corners. They're too busy doing all these other things. I just cannot get by. You're right, Peter. And that's, I guess, my clumsy way of saying it'll set a precedent for President BBL, President Jasmine Crockett, President whoever you want. And that's why I say, would you be cool if Biden sent troops into a state to quote unquote, pacify it? You would literally be having a cow right now. Most of conservative media had a cow when Biden did it. But now that it's Team MAGA, it's okay. I just want intellectual consistency. And my audience is very good at it. And you guys have made and Michael and some guys have made James, because you can't. It's not the Fed's job. It's not the Fed's job. Then the people on the south side of Chicago need to band together. They need to find a candidate that will try to clean up the streets of Chicago, and they need to get that person elected. And they need to find a candidate for governor that wants to save their state, and they got to get him elected. There are checks and balances to these. And my whole thing, James, is that setting the precedent of running to the government, to the feds, to fix your state problems is just a case of begging for a police state. That's what I fear. You have the Patriot Act, and then you have the things from the big beautiful bill. You've got Palantir on the books. You've got the moving of all the digitalization. I just cannot. I just cannot get behind it, guys. Right? I just cannot. So we can agree to disagree. I will acknowledge that there are certain things within DC, because it is Fed land. I don't like it. I don't think it's good precedent, but I understand the arguments of, hey, try to beautify DC because it's our capital. Okay. Even though there's a functioning government, when I say functioning government, I'm not saying it runs well. I'm saying it's set there. There's one in place. You're essentially toppling a government and setting up a federal zone. Now, like I said, if you want to pass a ruling in Congress to remove the Home Act and say, guess what? You guys have screwed the pooch on this. We're getting rid of you and we're going to federalize it. Go ahead. But this is my case, and this is why I just cannot get on board with this. And this is why I said it's bad Trump. And for the people that are watching this in the replay, if you think I'm way off base, please let me know in the comment section down below why you think it's a good idea. Do you worry about the federalization of New York, Boston, DC, Baltimore, and the certainty of a police state? Unless Trump does abandon the rules and runs and is the president forever, even then, I don't think it's a good idea. So this is my argument against it. And hopefully I've made a decent enough case. I don't think I have, but that's why I strongly, strongly do not support the idea of federalizing the feds being a solution in any way, shape, or form. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is RickCast. Like, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell. So that's our first contentious issue of the night. Peter, there is a feeling of inevitable. It's inevitable. But if it is inevitable, I'd like to keep it off as long as possible. I'd like to keep it from happening for as long as possible in that regard. But for me, it just doesn't feel right. It doesn't, and it cannot be because our guy's in charge. It's okay. We cannot be. And I'm not saying anybody in this audience is, I'm saying to MAGA media in general, we cannot be intellectually consistent, which they already have. It's not like this is anything new. We cannot be intellectually inconsistent just because our quote unquote guy is in charge. Peter, I understand what you're saying. It seems like it's inevitable. And I understand what Michael Thomas has been saying in our chat. And I understand what James has been saying in our chat. And I'm trying to be, because I do appreciate all you guys watching and interacting. I want to be as respectable as possible in these debates. So I think we can have the debates and still move on. All right. I think speaking of Michael Thomas, he's not going to be happy with me in this next one, but Lila Rose. Ooh, Lila Rose. Why? Hold on a second. She decided to make some statements today, or she made some statements over the week. She made some statements in a recent podcast. And in case you haven't seen them, here it is.
Can we all talk about Father Mike Schmitz? I showed him to a girlfriend who's not Catholic, and she's like, when's Mass? What about the man needing sex? That's just...
Hold on a second. Real quick. It's actually really disgusting that it's okay for women to sexualize male priests. Right? That's unfair to Father Mike Schmidt. Father Mike Schmidt is a good man, at least from what I can see on his digital profile. He seems to be a man that is really doing the best he can, and yet he is, oh, look at it, he's so cute. And then they're going to talk about, it's like, ladies, you sound like you're being pushed by your libido in that statement. But let's listen to Lila Rose on this statement.
That's just a cultural narrative that basically says men are like animals and they have to be able to do this sexual thing. Otherwise, they're going to go crazy. And the reality is there's whole vocations that are celibate. And these are virile men, men's men. Some of the most masculine men I know are priests. We need food. We need air to breathe. We don't need sex.
It's a gift
of coming together, and it's designed to bring life into the world.
I think the sexiest thing about a guy is like their self-control. And my husband has amazing self-control. So after baby number 4, when we started practicing NFP, it was like we couldn't do it sometimes when we wanted to. And that kind of made things a little steamier, like not gonna lie. It's hard on him too, don't get me wrong. People will say, well, oh, do you just do other things for your husband?
So why Lila has decided that this is going to be something that she wants to talk about is just proof that the grift conquers all. And she has moved on from pro-life issues to content issues. And it's kind of disgusting the way, first of all, let's just throw this out there. You need, it's called the marital act. You need the marital act in order to consummate a marriage. So when she says they don't need it, well, you need it in that regard. So there's one there. Second, this may be out of line, but this kind of reeks that she's kind of mad at her husband and she's just kind of like yelling about, we don't need it all the time. You don't need it all the time. Oh, okay. You want to know why Catholic ink is bad for men? Is because of this. Men, first of all, way too many women in Catholic ink trying to preach. There's famous quotes about not letting women be preachers or teachers for a reason. Secondly, men will watch this and then men will watch Andrew Tate and they'll go, yeah, I'm going to go hang out with Andrew Tate, because what she's talking about is not a reflection of something that the Catholic Church desperately needs right now, which is authentic masculinity. Right? Authentic masculinity. And there is the idea that, listen, they don't need it. They don't need, and her whole thing is like, we need air and we need food. Well, the marital act is designed for, what is somebody in the Bible, somebody will know this quote, a man and a woman will leave their families and become one. I don't think Lila understands the become one part. It is a gift that our Lord has reserved for marriage. Now, of course, society has absolutely destroyed it. And there's a lot of boomer Catholics and there's a lot of left Caths, quote unquote, that have destroyed it. And there's a lot of priests that have destroyed it as well. But there's entire sections of the catechism that are devoted to Catholic sexual ethics. And for Lila to come out on a very prominent podcast, say whatever you will, she's a very prominent podcast because you got a lot of money behind her, and to say things like this really does, and she doubled down on it. She's like, man, they don't need it. So what Lila is doing here is she's creating a barrier between husbands and wives. Under no authority is she is essentially telling women that would listen to her podcast, you can deny your husband. Now there are much smarter men that have talked about this. There are saints and there are Catholic books written about this by much smarter people than Lila in this case. Sorry, Lila, this is not your wheelhouse. I don't even know what the hell her wheelhouse is, because she doesn't talk about pro-life issues anymore. And when she does it really badly. Now, a lot of people, say, oh, well, she's done so much for the pro-life movement. Last time I checked, IVF was still being mandated by the Trump administration. I don't know if we're for that or against that in that regard. But this is really putting men and women in a really awful spot. Now, you could say, well, the Holy Mother's a Holy Mother. She was born without sin. St. Joseph was given supernatural grace. If you know the story about St. Joseph and the Holy Mother, right? St. Joseph was married to the most beautiful woman of all time, right? If we're going to talk about goat conversations, the Holy Mother, she's the goat, most beautiful woman to ever exist, sinless. And in order to, and of course, St. Joseph had taken a vow of chastity before, but he was given supernatural grace. So that wasn't even a thing for him. Okay. Notice how I said supernatural grace. Now you can have vows and things like that, but it's not an appropriate conversation for two women to have. First of all, if you're Lila's husband, yes, Cesar, I'm trying to get around that, but I'm kind of clumsy. There's a whole Father Ripperger has a great talk on this. It was on an Instagram feed one time. Father Ripperger talks about that fact. Now, you have to find it. I should have. He said, you can't deny your husband or your wife. Wives can't deny husbands. Husband can't deny wives. Within reason, he says. Within reason, obviously. But you have Lila here saying, nope, you don't need it. Blank off. And it's the feminization, the covert feminism that takes over every single Catholic and conservative e-girl. No matter how trad they claim to be, the wooing of feminism and the talking points of feminism seep into women who are in the conservative or the influencer, quote unquote, sphere, which is why we need less conservative. We need less Catholic influencers. We need a dramatic decrease in Catholic influencers. Because this is not biblically sound. And she's presenting herself as an authority. Now, believe you and me, I've done this dance with my diocese. If I was going to use the word Catholic, I had to get permission to do so. She presents herself as a Catholic commentator. She presents herself as somebody who is an authority in this part. And how many marriages is Lila Rose going to infiltrate? I doubt it. I don't even know who her bishop is. I doubt nobody. I think she was in Rome last week. For the influencer, the Young Catholic Digital Influencer Conference. And by the way, a bishop would dare not say anything to a woman. They should, but they won't. And so the whole idea, all right. I don't know if I'm doing this right. You guys can call me out. You guys do, but check this out. Let me bring this up. What do you mean file not found? I'm looking at the file. 2360. The love of husband and wife. Where are you? Here we are. I don't know if you guys are going to be able to see this, but we're going to try and bring this up right now. The love of husband and wife. Sexuality is ordered in the conjugal love of a man and a woman. In a marriage, the physical intimacy of the spouses becomes a sign and pledge of spiritual communion. Did Lila Rose look at any of this before she just went off the chain and said, guys don't need sex? They don't need it. They don't need it at all. Okay. What about that? One thing I do well is research. One thing I do well is be able to look stuff up. I'm a moron when it comes to a bunch of other things. But I can tell you, Lila, 2360. Marriage bonds between baptized persons are sanctified by the sacrament. If you are in a sacramental marriage blessed by the church, it is a sacrament. It is sanctified by the church. I'm not saying this off the cuff. This is 2360 of the Catholic Catechism. 2361. Sexuality, by means of which a man and a woman give themselves to one another through the acts which are proper and exclusive to spouses, which is why we call it the marital act, is not something simply biological. It concerns the innermost being of the human person as such. It is realized in the truly human way only if it's an integral part of love by which a man and a woman commit themselves totally to one another until death, which is what we do in the Catholic Church. 2362. Acts in a marriage which are intimate and chaste union of the spouses take place are noble and honorable. You don't need it. You don't need it. Have self-control. She sounds like a feminist. Have self-control. What are you, an animal? Literally, you are my wife. We stood there before God and pledged ourselves to each other. This is a supernatural bond that you and I took. And now you're like, I don't know. No, I just don't want to. You don't need it. Okay. The noble and honorable, truly human performance of these acts foster the self-giving they signify and enriches the spouses in joy and gratitude. From the Catholic Catechism, sexuality is a source of joy and pleasure. Remember, it's animalistic. It's just so animalistic. Lila, would you like the link? I'll send this to you if maybe you're not aware of these things. Maybe you're not aware of them. I don't know. And listen to the other lady. After our fourth kid, we went on NFP. Oh, I'm sorry. You don't want 5 kids or 6 kids. You only want 4. That's and as somebody, and this is not new, as somebody who is not able to have children, you have no idea how much it enrages me when people are like, oh, we have enough kids. Oh, we have enough kids. We're going to do natural family planning. Oh, we have enough kids. We're going to get our 2. You have no idea how many tables I want to flip when I hear that. Because you are you don't know how much it makes me angry. But let's just do 2263. The spouses' union achieves the twofold end of marriage: the good of the spouses themselves and the transmission of life. Okay, Lila, so should my wife and I, we can't have kids? Okay. I guess, okay, that's it. We're okay. I mean, we haven't had a kid yet. Maybe God has a plan for me when I'm 50. Right? Maybe he's going to be like, boop. Like, hey, Rick, there you go. Because God, all things are possible with God. So never say no to that. Where was I? The good of the transmission of life. These two meanings, the two meanings of value of marriage, cannot be separated without altering the couple's spirit. Listen to this. The values of marriage cannot be separated without altering the couple's spiritual life and compromising the good of the marriage and the future of the family. What? And listen, call me out. I may be out of line. I'll be more than happy. It's semi-demonic what she's saying. When I say demonic, I mean it's not rooted in the good, true, and beautiful when she says that. So Lila, and she doubled down on it, guys. She doubled down on it. And the fact that she's going to try and convince women in healthy Catholic marriages to go to their husbands and just be like, nah, we're fine. Lila Rose told me, you don't need it. Lila Rose is not in this marriage. Lila Rose has got to go deal with her own marriage. And she needs to keep her big fat nose out of everybody else's. But when you become an influencer and when you have all of these things put into place where you are chasing clicks and you are chasing influence and you are chasing money and you are chasing, in some aspects, power. I can say this. I'm Lila Rose. I have all these followers on Instagram and YouTube, and I don't care what those men say. They're misogynistic anyway. You need to correct. Lila, I will send you I will send you this. In fact, I will do this right now in real time, so y'all can watch me. Might as well. We'll have some fun with it. Lila Grace Rose, you are wrong in your analysis of what is proper within a marriage. Please, I can't spell. Consult. What sections is this? I'm stupid. What section is this? Sections 2360 through 2363. Sections 2360 to 2363 of the Catechism. I can't spell it, so I just kind of let it roll. There we go. Boom. Done. All right. She's wrong. She has the Jezebel spirit. Absolutely the Jezebel spirit here. Where am I? All right. We're not in any of these. We're back to Lila Grace Rose. So I just can't sit back. And not because I'm a misogynistic pig that thinks, guys should get it whenever they want, man. Yeah. No. I ain't talking about that. We ain't doing that. Catholic marriages, and I'm a Catholic supremacist, are superior to secular marriages. There is more on the line within a Catholic marriage than a regular courthouse marriage. Because it is my job, and it is every male who is married in this audience's job to get to heaven. You have to get your wife to heaven. That will be something you have to account for. As far in the wives, it is your job. Lila, guess what, darling? At the 4 final things, you're going to be asked about that. I think. I may not be right. Call me out if I'm wrong. Call me out if I am wrong. But every action, every thought, every word that is spoken and uttered out of our mouth, we will need to be held to account for. Remember that. And this is not me. This is me being charitable. This is me being charitable right now. Please read the catechism I just sent you. Please understand the evil you are doing. And you are not doing it for the good of anything but your own self-interest. So, yeah, I didn't know it was going to go that. I didn't think we were going to go that route, but hey, there we go. This is RickCast. Like, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell. It's one of those things. Like, if you're her husband, man, you're like, Lila, what the? I don't know. Maybe he's like, all right, sure. You're the one who makes the money in the relationship, so it doesn't matter. All right. I don't know their situation. I don't want to call. I don't want to speak to their situation. But I don't want Catholic women to listen to that and say, oh, yeah, she's right. Such a modernistic take on it. And by the way, she's in the same circles as Voice of Reason. They had plenty of pictures when they were at Catholic influencing events together. And you want to know why young men don't want to go to the Catholic Church. You want to know why the Catholic Church can't attract men and they want to go watch Andrew Tate. And I'm not saying Andrew Tate's right. He's actually everything that's wrong. But you're getting nagged by Lila Rose. You're getting nagged by her. I'm sorry. What is this? And yes, priests, you know why they take the vow of celibacy? Because it is a supernatural gift. And not all of them, obviously. It's a lot of them struggle with it. But it is a supernatural gift. It is a supernatural sacrifice they make to be closer to God. That's what they chose to do. Nuns do the exact same thing, which is why nuns and priests are awesome, because they fight those spiritual battles for us. I don't know. Let me know, people who are watching in the replay. I'm going to definitely cut this clip out. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below if you're watching on the replay. Am I wrong? Am I right? Am I just going too far on this? We have to rein in Catholic influencers. We do. There's too many of them. And it's fine. There's a lot of good ones. And I'm not even talking about like, the ones that people associate it with, like Marshall and Gordon and Avoiding Babylon. I'm not even talking about those guys. At least when Marshall, Gordon, Avoiding Babylon, Return to Tradition, when those guys talk, they're at least trying to use the catechism, and they're trying to do it as in as much good faith as possible. This just doesn't feel like a good faith act to me. It just doesn't. All right. I'm going to move on because I'm just going to, I think I've been ranting on the subject for like almost 35 minutes. Could have done a whole show on it, but this is only going to create a bigger divide in good Catholic marriages. My married brothers and sisters, you guys know it's already hard without other people's outside influence. Being married is awesome, but it's also something that has to happen. Michael Thomas, I tend to agree with that, but that's something he needs to deal with. And that's Eric Sammons doesn't like me ever since I questioned why he was bringing race into the Pope conversation. So I don't really have a lot of pull. I don't have a lot of pull with Eric Sammons. So it is what it is in that regard. But all Catholic influencers really, I think they just need to be careful. So, and guess what, guys? Because I'm talking about Catholic issues, that's why I beg you guys in the chat to hold me accountable. If I'm off base, rein me in. I trust there's some very smart guys in our chat. And if I'm off, I usually am pretty good at self-correcting and trying to bring that in. The last thing I ever want to do is lead anybody astray. Okay? Because I'm already kind of on when there's the Bible verse about the path and the rocks. I'm more on the rocks most days than on the path. I'm trying to get back on the path, but a lot of days I'm slipping on the rocks. So it is what it is. All right, let's move on to another subject here on RickCast. Yeah, Monday shows seem to be the longest. When BTC, he's talking about Eric Sammons is a big fan of Bitcoin, and he's been a big fan of Bitcoin for a long time. And that's fine. People can. I have my personal doubts about Bitcoin, but he seems to like it and he has his reasons for it. And that's not for me to bring up or question because, it is what it is in that regard. But yes, he's talking about Bitcoin in that regard. Eric, Michael can talk to you, G-Pat, about that more in the comment section. Because I do need to get to another subject or this is going to be like another 45 minutes. Which I know you guys would enjoy because I'm amazing, but still, I've already blown through one of my nicotine pouches. That's why I'm all jacked up, but I might need another one to get through the rest of the show. So, and a bit of good news. Let's talk about some good news here. Something that came out of left field that we didn't see coming, but could be potentially really great. From Newsweek, Supreme Court faces decision on case overturning same-sex marriages, or as Jason Whitlock calls them correctly, same-sex mirages. So this was dropped today. The U.S. Supreme Court is facing a choice about whether to take up a case filed by former Kentucky clerk Kim Davis urging the overturn of its decision in Obergefell v. Hodges, the landmark case that it didn't guarantee anything. It's a precedent. It can be overturned. It's not law. In fact, there are 40 state constitutions. If I remember what Kreslins used to say, there's like 40 plus states in the union that have some kind of defense of marriage on their books that this thing overturned. The right to same-sex mirages nationwide. Davis's attorney, Matthew Staver, told Newsweek he's optimistic the court will take the case. William Powell, the attorney who represents the couple that sued Davis, wrote in a statement that he is confident SCOTUS will likewise agree that Davis's argument does not merit further attention. It's a different court, man. It's a different court than it was before. And because Justice Thomas, God bless him, great man. I think this might be his final term, or he's going to go before Trump leaves because he's going to want to guarantee that his spot is filled by a quote unquote conservative, like Amy Coney Barrett. But Thomas is going to tell Roberts, you need to take this case. It was overturned on it was dropped by Anthony Kennedy. Wasn't Kennedy a Catholic? Justice Kennedy, a Catholic, who was the swing vote on that, and he loved to be the swing vote on these things. Now, of course, we're going to get a bunch of law professors who will tell us that it's unlikely SCOTUS would agree to overturn same-sex marriages. Why? It's a violation of states' rights. It's a violation of state. A state should be able to say, we don't support it. Well, what you have to guarantee my marriage if I'm in Florida or if I'm in Indiana. If I get married in California, no, I don't. You know why? Because California doesn't recognize my LTC permit. So why do we have to recognize your marriage license? It was a sweeping overturn of state law. And I think it was an absolutely terribly decided case. Some justices like Clarence Thomas have signaled an openness to revising the case in recent years as the court has moved to the right. That conservative shift on cultural issues has been defined in the 2022 ruling of overturning of Roe v. Wade. If the court overturns the nationwide same-sex marriages, it would likely return to the states, many of which still not pass laws allowing members of the same sex to get married. Because it's not something that has to be there. I mean, you even have this, the Respect for Marriage Act. It's a U.S. federal law that's still on the books. Oh, that defeated the Defense of Marriage Act. Okay. So they repealed that, which is interesting so they did that. All right. It's a state matter. You're right, Peter. It's 100%. It's always been a state matter. Just like driver's license are a state matter, concealed carry license are a state matter, hunting licenses are a state matter. Licenses governed by states are state matters. Unless you want to do a federal marriage law license, which I don't want, then there's nothing this is a blatant violation. Stava raised religious objections to same-sex marriage. Obergefell was egregiously wrong, deeply damaging, and far outside the bounds of any reasonable interpretation of the various constitutional provisions to which it vaguely pointed, and set out a collision course within the Constitution from the day it was decided. Yeah, go back, leave, go to you won't recognize my marriage license. You can go to a state that does. Go to the West Coast, go to Rhode Island, Catholic Rhode Island, go to Rhode Island. They'll recognize any stupid liberal law. Davis's case presents an ideal opportunity to revisit the substantive due process that lacks any basis in the Constitution. I hope they take this up, and I hope this is Justice Thomas's magnus opus. Is that magnus opus? I hope it is. I do. I'd love to see Thomas come in and just absolutely smack down Obergefell, get rid of it, and then, repeal the whatever marriage act that was slipped in 2022. Of course, they won't because the Republicans are wussies, but send it back to the states. It's a state issue. Let the states deal with it. That's all I'm saying there. And I pray magnum opus. So I was close. Magnum opus. What was I? MAGA opus? Yes, his magnum opus. Thank you, Michael. See, I could be corrected. I hope that would be a great way for Thomas to slap that down and be like, see ya, overturned gun laws, overturned abortion, overturned same-sex marriage. If that happens, I'm putting in a petition for Thomas to get sainthood. I'll be the leader of his Saint Clarence Thomas, patron saint of laws, patron saint of righteousness. I'm kidding. I would never do such a thing. But I would be, that'd be a heck of a streak for Thomas. We'll probably never see anything like that again. But yes, let's hope that the court actually takes it up, and let's hope that it is overturned in a way that will respect religious liberty and religious freedom, because we should not be forced to have to deal with a mirage of people that pretend that they're married. They're not married. And if they're married, fine. If the state of California wants to recognize marriages, like I said, let the state of California do it. Oh, Thomas is a hardcore Catholic. Clarence Thomas is a hardcore Catholic. Supposedly he goes to mass every morning. Thomas is a hardcore. I wish all my justices had the religious spine that Thomas has. I think Obergefell was based on something in the 14th Amendment. Because they use the 14th Amendment for everything. They wedge the 14th Amendment into all stuff. So something along the 14th Amendment. That's a good question, Peter. I don't know off the top of my head. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let me get to the last story of the night. Little quick entertainment story here from Variety. Paramount nabs UFC in a $7.7 billion deal to get it away from ESPN in 2026. That's a pretty crazy amount of money, considering Paramount just got bought by Skydance for like 6.6 billion. So the UFC deal is more than the actual payment for Paramount. Davis Ellison, the new CEO of Paramount, pinned a major deal for the media company he just took over. Paramount Skydance on Monday announced a 7-year media rights agreement with the TKO Group, under which Paramount Plus will become the exclusive home of UFC events in the U.S. That's a great get for Paramount Plus. That's a great get for Paramount Plus. I know everybody hates that exclusivity, but they're going to get a major amount of signups just for that. It'll be exclusive events, pulling the mixed martial arts events from ESPN. They'd secured that deal through this. Anything that pulls it away from Disney, I'm happy with. The 7-year deal, which begins in 2026, has an average annual value of $1.1 billion. Starting in 2026, Paramount will exclusively distribute UFC's full slate of 13 annual marquee number events and 30 fight nights via Paramount Plus. Select number UFC events will be simulcasted on CBS. It's a good, like I said, it's a good deal for UFC. Yeah, that's actually more important. Yeah, they better not mess up that Landman show. I'm looking forward to season 2. I really enjoyed Landman. So Paramount said it plans to explore acquiring UFC rights outside of the U.S. as they become available. News of the Paramount UFC deal comes days after Ellison closed an $8 billion deal for Skydance. They just bought Paramount for $8 billion. Like I said, it's fantastic for UFC. It's great because it takes it away from Disney, which is even better. Because forget Disney, and good for them, right? They're the most conservative, quote unquote, sports league right now. They didn't shut down through COVID. Dana White's been a very open Trump supporter. He's allowed his fighters to express freedom of speech. So I think they should be, and I don't say this often, but UFC has built its brand up and they deserve to be rewarded for doing things as right as one can. They do everything perfect? No. But I kind of think Dana White's doing this just to kind of put the knife in Disney's back. So I'm good with it. Good deal. And, they're all spending ungodly amounts of money anyway on this stupid stuff. They might as well let that happen in the end. All right, folks, that is it for this ruckus episode of RickCast. Do me a favor, if you like what we talked about tonight, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button if you're new here. It helps the show grow. Obviously, you're going to get takes from me that you're not going to get from a lot of other people. Not because I'm trying to be a contrarian, but this is just how I think. And if you like what we're doing, it helps the show grow. Share the show out. And support the work by liking the program. I'm going to have an announcement tomorrow on the deal with trad flags. I will have, because trad flags, we have the official deal done. He has a promo code for me, so you can get 10% off at tradflags.com. I'll announce that tomorrow. My first official sponsor, so we'll talk about that. I will talk to you all tomorrow night, guys. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. Chat, you guys be good and don't go. I have to, my friend. My time is up, at least tonight. Tomorrow, we'll get back at it tomorrow night, guys. We're going to have a good time tomorrow. I look forward to talking to you all then. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. God bless, and until that day comes, free Dexter Taylor.